There's absolutely no step of this entire case that wasn't completely run by social media influencers. So the Gabby Petito story, I'm pretty sure that everybody is up to speed with this story. If you don't know the story very well, there are plenty of resources. Just Google Gabby Petito and you'll get filled in. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the role that social media played in this. This is something that's been pretty glazed over. All the news outlets were sort of reporting the evolving case, and you heard about the police reports, and you heard about her being pulled over. You heard about all the main headlines. But what you didn't actually hear is how the case evolved and why it evolved. Gabby was just another missing persons, and there's a lot of missing persons, and they aren't getting the headlines of the Gabby Petito case. The reason this case made front page news, the reason everybody knew about it, the reason the police did what they did, followed a bouncing ball, is because TikTokers got a hold of the story and they started reporting to everybody what was going on. There were several TikTokers that took it upon themselves to basically be news sources for Gabby. There were people who were posting 10, 12 times a day, every single thing that the police were finding and uncovering. But here's what's crazy. The police weren't going to do anything. Because first off, the fiance, which is a natural suspect in this situation. I mean, they were gone for 2 weeks together. He comes home alone in her van and won't talk to anybody.
This is what I think so many people are feeling. How could you know that your fiance was out there missing and just go back to states away without saying anything, just returning to your home where you lived with her?
I don't know how he wouldn't be the number one suspect. I don't understand why that's not enough to go on to haul his ass into the police station. Unfortunately, the system that's built to protect people's rights is also the system that's so laden with red tape that the police are handcuffed themselves. Oftentimes they can't do what needs to be done to solve the case because they can't get past these barriers to get there. And one of those barriers was they couldn't even force Brian to answer questions for them. In order to do that, he needs to be a legitimate suspect. They probably need a warrant. They can't search any of his stuff. They can't search the van. They can't search the house. They can't force the parents to answer any questions. Police have no ability to find the answers to the questions that they want answered. And this is why social media is changing the legal landscape. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I just want to talk about some of the things that TikTokers did along the way that led to solving this case. One of the first things that TikTokers got a hold of was Gabby's Instagram account. When they looked really closely at her posts of the past and compared it to her most recent post that happened after she was missing, TikTokers were suspicious that it was actually Brian who made this post to make it seem like she wasn't missing. And there's inconsistencies like the way that she typed, the fact that the message was really, really short, the emojis she used that she had never used before. She's a big storyteller. Usually her descriptions are really, really detailed. That was completely lacking in this post. The next thing that TikTokers pulled apart was this last text message that she had sent to her family, supposedly.
On August 30th, Gabby's mom received a message from her phone saying no service in Yosemite. Even if she didn't have service in Yosemite, this doesn't seem like a message that she would send. Now a lot of people are speculating that Gabby's fiance Brian Laundrie posted that last Instagram photo and sent this last text, but we don't know anything and he's not speaking to anybody.
The next thing that TikTokers discovered was using Reddit threads. They managed to locate a bunch of photos of people who were in that area at that time where they were suspected to be and where Gabby reportedly or supposedly might have gone missing. And they ended up finding this photo right here.
This is a photo that somebody found in a Facebook group. They're specifically referencing this that was in the background. It looks like a body. And that looks like this outfit that Gabby was seen wearing in one of her Instagram photos.
Again, this takes a lot of manpower. And manpower, I think, is a really big part of the story. When the FBI are given a case, it's like one person, two people. It's a small team. They're not gonna have a department of 1,000 people working on a missing persons case. And that's where social media is so powerful, because when you get social media people to care, all of a sudden you have free staff. All of a sudden you have thousands of people working on this case from different angles that have different personalities and a higher level working knowledge of social media platforms. This network of problem solving, it's wildly, wildly powerful. And it ends up that you have so much reach that you're starting to get pieces of the puzzle that no police officer could ever find. So back to TikTokers. The next thing they did was post up outside of his home.
Where is Gabby? Where is Gabby?
To push the family into speaking because they need to. Like, let's get real. Your son's fiance went missing on their trip. These people need to be questioned. Here's another thing that TikTokers did that's so genius that again, no police officer would ever think to do this.
So the next day, September 1st, a whole bunch of songs were added to Gabby's Spotify playlist called Mountaintops, MTN Tops, and it's kind of haunting.
They discovered that Abby had posted a music playlist on Spotify days after reportedly going missing. And at the same time, as she had in that prior text message, stated that they had no service. Something that you need cell phone service to do to create these playlists on your phone. They went a step further. They went really deep. They actually broke down the songs, the messages in the songs, the lyrics, to see if it led to anything.
The song that most people are focusing on is Matt Berry's Woman, and I'm gonna read you guys some of the lyrics. So it says, she'll soothe you, she'll accuse you, she'll confuse you, she'll lose you, but always be the best friend you have in the world. So it's just a little, people are a little like, what the heck, why was that song added?
The playlist argument ended up not really being key in the greater story or solving the case, but again, it just shows how specific, how they're able to nail down into these really, really niche corners of the internet. So all through this, as TikTokers were figuring this all out, new TikTokers were posting new things. One girl happened to actually pick up Brian, who was hitchhiking.
Hi, my name is Miranda Baker, and on August 29th, my boyfriend and I picked up Brian at Grand Teton National Park at 5:30 at night at Coulter Bay. I'm hoping this can help someone identify him because I saw him from TikTok, which then made me call the authorities, and my boyfriend and I have been in contact with a bunch of different people to help piece together different parts of this case. But we picked him up at Coulter Bay, like I said, at 5:30. He approached us asking us for a ride because he needed to go to Jackson, which we were going to Jackson that night. So I said, hop in. He hopped in the back of my Jeep. We then, proceeded to make small talk. But before he came in the car, he offered to pay us like $200 to give him a ride, like 10 miles. So that was kind of weird. He then told us he's been camping for multiple days without his fiance. He did say he had a fiance, and that she was working on their social media page back at their van. Then once, in conversation, I brought up, we're going to Jackson. He freaked out. He's like, nope, I need to get out right now. Pull over. So we pulled over at the Jackson Dam, which I don't know if you know Teton Park, but it's not very far from Coulter Bay. And if this does reach people, I can post pictures of exactly where we were. We picked him up and the whole route or whatever, and screenshots of the timestamps. We dropped him off at 6:09 p.m. on August 29th. He kind of hurried out of the car, and then he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go find someone else to hitchhike. And we're like, okay. It was a weird situation. So when we picked him up, he was wearing a backpack, he had a long sleeve pants, hiking boots, and he had scruff, but he didn't look dirty. For someone who was camping for multiple days, he didn't look dirty, he didn't smell dirty, so that part was kind of weird. And I'm just really hoping that they find her, and this helps someone remember seeing him, or something like that.
It wasn't just the clues, it wasn't just the puzzle pieces that TikTokers are putting along the way. It was a social media influencer who in the end discovered the body. because a YouTuber that was making a travel vlog happened to catch a clip of Gabby's van parked at the side of the road, and it ended up that it was that area that the FBI then searched to find Gabby's body.
So we were heading back on this long dirt gravel road.
And we came across a white van that had Florida plates, a small white van. We were going to stop and say hi because we're from Florida too, but the van was completely dark. There was nobody there, so we decided to continue on our way.
There is absolutely no step of this entire case that wasn't completely run by social media influencers. To the point where the FBI was monitoring the millions of views and thousands of comments with tips and clues along the way. And that's how they were getting their information. That's where they were sourcing it from, was social media. This is crazy important. This is a complete changing of the guard. Everyone just obsesses over the negatives of social media. People kept saying, you know, like, all these people went missing. How come nobody cares about that? All these people have been missing for years and years and years. How come these cases are all cold? The difference is those weren't on social media. That's the only difference. Is because eventually what happens is police run out of enough clues and manpower to take a case to the next stage to accomplish anything. So eventually just people get off with doing these things. This is just such a game changer, and I think it's so interesting.